Greetings everybody, my name is Justin Zarr and welcome to the Roads to Nowhere, my cleverly named series that is chronicling our journey as a neighborhood to get the recognition that we so dearly need and deserve for our road system here in the Algonquin Hills subdivision. So let me take you back and tell you a story. How did we get here? So this is my house. I bought it in 2009. And when I bought my home, these roads you see behind me were meticulously maintained. In fact, they were graded. There was no potholes, there was no ruts, and this was a beautiful neighborhood. Shortly after I moved in, I can remember seeing a township grader come through, taking care of the roads. And I thought, there's our tax money, hard at work. Fast forward a couple months, we got our first snow, and a day after that snow, I came outside and I looked around and I said, where's all the plow trucks? In fact, I asked my neighbor Chris, who lives over here, I said, hey man, when are the plow trucks coming? He kind of just looked at me and laughed and said, plow trucks aren't coming. Nobody plows our roads. And that was my first introduction to the drama of the Algonquin Hills road system. Now, I'm a rough and tumble guy. I got a four-wheel drive truck. I was like, you know what? We don't need plows anyways. I'll just drive through it like everybody else. And for the last 17 years, that's what I've been doing. You know, all through the 2010s, our road system was pretty well maintained. The road commissioner at the time, Bob Miller, took care of us. He would come in with graders and he would come in with material. And at one point in time, he actually came through and paved an entire section of Linden as well as a good portion of my road, which is Victor. So Bob seemed like he cared about the constituents and the taxpayers, and he took care of our roads for us. After Bob Miller came, I forget his first name, but his last name was Gasser, and his administration was rife with drama and all sorts of lawsuits and legalities. I don't know much about what was happening during that time in the township, but I do know they were still maintaining our roads. After Gasser, in 2021, came Daniela Sandberg, who is our current township road commissioner and the person that is solely responsible for the maintenance of the roads in Algonquin Township. Shortly after Daniela was elected, the graders stopped showing up. You know, for the first year or so, I don't think anybody noticed, including myself. You know, the roads kind of, held together for the most part, but by early 2022, coming out of winter, much like we are right now, the roads really started to show some wear and tear. There were potholes everywhere. There were sections of Elmwood and Kenilworth and Wilmette that to me looked much like craters on the surface of the moon. So what did I do? As a concerned citizen, I contacted the township and I said, hey, when are you guys gonna send the graders out here to fix our roads? The nice lady at the township, whose name is Carrie Price, she is awesome, by the way. She said, hey, Mr. Zarr, thanks for calling, but unfortunately, your roads are not our jurisdiction. Your roads are private. And I said, private? The hell's a private road? This is news to me. Never heard of such a thing. She said, you know what you should do is contact your association, to which I said, association? We don't have an association. I don't pay dues to anybody. She said, well, you need to contact this lady. Her name is Bridget Scales, and she runs the Algonquin Hills Improvement Association. So I reached out to Bridget, who said, hey, thanks for contacting me. Why don't you come to your first board meeting? So I did. I went to my first board meeting, and that is where my journey with the saga of these roads really begins. What I learned at that time is that our roads aren't actually private, although many people like to refer to them as private, and I believed for a long time they were private and that we owned them. But I also questioned for a long time, how can a road be private, but not actually, do we actually own it? It doesn't show on my plat anywhere. So I looked it up in the McHenry County GIS, which is the tax system. And if you look up these roads, which you can do yourself, they're shown as a white space on the GIS tax system, which means they are a public thoroughfare, which means nobody actually owns the road. So if nobody owns the road, how can the road be privately owned? Seems like a weird thing, right? Turns out our roads aren't private. They're what's called non-dedicated. Our neighborhood was founded in 1926, 100 years ago. And when the plat was submitted to McHenry County, it was submitted with no designation of private road whatsoever. Unfortunately, the builder went out of business during the Great Depression, and when this development was finished, it was never officially handed over to the township. So the township has always treated these as non-dedicated roads. In 1959, when the Illinois Highway Code was amended and said all future roads have to be up to code, right? These roads just kind of got left behind. Everybody said, every road built before 1959 that doesn't adhere to our modern codes, just kind of screw them, right? Okay, interesting way to handle it, I suppose, but here we are in 2026. What do we do about it? Well, interestingly enough, with my involvement in the Algonquin Hills Improvement Association, I became the road representative. What that means is I am the liaison between our residents, our neighborhood, our board, in the township and the county when matters pertaining to the roads. So in 2023, I attended my first meeting at the Algonquin Township, where I met Daniela Sandberg for the first, and I believe the only time I've met her in person. I also met a lot of other folks from other neighborhoods who have non-dedicated subdivision roads. And they are in much the same position that we are in. Horrible conditions for their roads, but no money or association to maintain them. So what I learned about during this meeting is that there are motor fuel taxes in the state of Illinois collected every time somebody buys gas. Those taxes are put into a big fund, and that fund is then used to maintain roads. The township, Mrs. Sandberg, gets a substantial portion of funds every year from the MFT taxes, and at her discretion, and her discretion alone, she can elect to use those funds to work on our roads. Now, for many, many years, her predecessors, who also received those funds, would use township equipment, the graders and the rollers and the other equipment that we saw, to come maintain our roads. Well, when Daniela took over, she decided, you know what, I'm not doing that anymore. Now, what she told me at the time was that legally, she could not spend public money on a private road, and that made sense to me. Hell, it would make sense to anybody, right? Who wants public money, public taxpayer money spent on something that the public doesn't own? So I said, okay, that makes perfect sense to me. You can't send your equipment out here. She actually told me that if she sent her equipment out here, she could go to jail. So what they did was they said, we're going to allot to you, neighborhood, because we're nice people, the Township Road Commission, we're awesome, nice people. We're going to give you some money out of our MFT funds. You go hire your own contractors to fix your roads. And I said, hell yeah, I can do that. I'm the road rep. The stipulation there is that you have to hire union contractors. You have to hire people that pay prevailing wage. Well, I think the first year we had $10,000 in money to spend. And I contacted every paving company in McHenry County I could get a phone number for. And the union shops pretty much just laughed at me. The non-union shops laughed at me when I told them, hey, I need you to pay prevailing wage if you're going to do this work. And let's think about it. $10,000 is a lot of money, right? 10 grand's a lot, but it's not even enough to get one driveway done, let alone grade miles and miles of road. So I had this money, but I couldn't spend it. I tried everything in my power to find somebody to spend the government's money, and I couldn't. So nothing got done. Fast forward to 2024, I believe is my second year. When we apply for our funds, we have to tell the township what we're using them for. So I said, hey, last year we tried to get grading done, but I couldn't find anybody to grade. So this year, how about we buy some gravel and we spread it ourselves? So that's what we did. We bought, I think, $8,000 worth of gravel, and we've put it all over this neighborhood. And we put it on the corners, and the people have used that gravel to fill in the potholes on their own. There's one of our residents now driving down one of our glorious streets. So that's what we did in 2024. Now, late 2024 is when things get interesting. I received an email from Miss Price at Algonquin Township. And what she told me was, hey, Justin, check this out. McHenry County DOT recently audited the non-dedicated subdivision road program, and they found that your neighborhood is no longer eligible for these funds because your neighborhood is the responsibility of the township jurisdiction. And in fact, you do not have non-dedicated roads, which was news to me. But I was pretty excited about that, right? That means these roads, the ones I'm walking on right now that are deteriorating below my very feet, are the responsibility of Algonquin Township. I contacted Miss Sandberg to let her know. I was excited to work with her and excited for her team and her crews to get in here and fix these roads for the taxpayers. You know, she was up for re-election that year, and she assured me that she would come up with a plan. Hey, we're going to take care of it. Let me get through this election. we're gonna come up with a plan. Now, as you guys can imagine, you probably know what happened next. She got reelected. It's been a year. There's no plan. Our roads continue to fail. In that time, I have done a massive amount of research. More research than I care to admit. I've stayed up late. I have ignored things that I probably should be doing in favor of figuring out how do we get ourselves out of this situation. And I'll tell you what, I found a lot of amazing stuff, and that's what this channel is going to be dedicated to. So stick around. I have a lot more videos to come. I'm going to show you guys all the information I have, including the plats of our neighborhood that indicate that it is not a non-dedicated road. I'm going to show you documents, that prove that in 2012, former road commissioner Bob Miller paved a half a mile of Linden and Victor and used public monies to pay for it. And in doing so, triggered an automatic change in jurisdiction, making these township roads. I'm going to talk about the annexation of the north ends of Victor, Wilmette, and Kenilworth by the village of Algonquin, which plays into this whole thing. And I'm going to talk about how our recent contract with Groot, mandating that they are the sole waste hauler for our neighborhood, also plays into the fact that our roads are indeed township roads, but our township road commissioner, refuses to acknowledge it, in spite of the fact that she is currently sitting on $2 million of funds in her road budget, which could be used for her crews and our equipment that our tax dollars paid for to come out and maintain our roads. She is effectively saying, F you guys, do it yourself. So here we sit, crumbling infrastructure that, by the way, is creating a health and safety hazard for our residents, because there are many roads in our neighborhood that are completely inaccessible to fire and emergency services. So if your home happens to be located in an area that the fire truck can't get to when your house catches fire, or that an ambulance can't get to if you have a problem at your house, and God forbid there is a problem somewhere and emergency services can't help us, we get to thank the Township Road Commissioner for that, for her inability to accept responsibility for these roads, even though I've proven time and time again that they are in fact her responsibility. So again, join me. I'm going to produce a bunch of these videos for you guys. I'm going to take deep dives into the plats of survey and all of the documentation that I have FOIA requested. I'm going to take deep dives into the meetings I've had with our township and our county board representatives. And I want you to join me in my frustration at what it's like dealing with local government and dealing with a highway commissioner who refuses to look out for the well-being of the hundreds of families who live here in Algonquin Hills. So again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like this Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Roads to Nowhere, Unpaved and Unaccounted For, the saga of Algonquin Hills and our struggle to get some passable roads. Thanks, everybody.